Hello and welcome to Rouse IAS. This is the daily news simplified for the date 18th March 2024. And for our today's discussion, we are going to deal with these following 8 topics. And the topics for our today's discussion would be crop diversification, benefits and challenges, commercialization of Indian space sector, India-Nepal relations, and Myanmar conflict is a regional problem. And for our prelims discussion, we will be dealing with these following topics, which are bauxite distribution in India, Ice Cube Neutrino Observatory, Lishu and Singpo tribal communities, and arboriculture. So let's start our discussion. But before we begin with our discussion, if you like our video, give us a thumbs up. And if you have any issue, you can ask them in the comment section of YouTube video, right? And there is an important announcement for you. The mock 2 or the round 2 of pre-parikshan 2024 is going to be conducted on 30 and 31st March 2024, for which you can register for free in this e-learn portal of Rouse IAS. This website link will be given in our description box. You can check this out and register in this open free mock test. Now with this, let's start our discussion. So the first topic of our today's discussion appeared on the page number 9 of Indian Express. And this article says that diversify the basket or diversify the agricultural basket. So basically it deals with crop diversification. And now this topic is important for our GS paper 3 economy and for our agricultural section in it, and which includes major crops, cropping patterns in various parts of the country, different types of irrigation and irrigation systems, and marketing, transport and marketing of agricultural produce and related issues. And if we see in this particular theme, UPSC asked question in these following years, in the year 2023 and in the year 2021, these are some of the questions. You can find multiple questions in this theme in various years. Now, before starting this discussion, if we ask a simple question that which of the states in India is the most productive in the terms of value creation in agriculture? So, which of the following state of India, which of the state of India is the most or creates the most value in agriculture? Probably one would say Punjab or Haryana. These are the states which come to our mind in the first instinct. But see, in this value creation, we're talking about monetary value, or we are talking about gross value added in agriculture, right? Or agricultural GDP per hectare of per hectare of sown area, right? So basically, see, there are some prosperous agricultural states like Punjab and Haryana. So in these states, the net productivity, we can say net agricultural productivity per unit or per unit net sown area or per hectare. If we say net productivity per hectare of these states is high as compared to other states of the country. But there are certain states like Andhra Pradesh, like Tamil Nadu, and in these states, they create maximum amount of value in agriculture. That is, the monetary value created per hectare is the highest in these states. Now, what is the reason for it? The reason is that because these states, they have done enormous efforts in crop diversification. That is, growing different species of crops. Particularly, they are investing in horticulture. And apart from agriculture, they are also investing in allied activities like pisciculture, aquaculture, and among other these allied activities, livestock rearing, and because of which these states are adding more value per unit hectare, right? Now, this is the basic theme of this article. Now, let's see what is crop diversification. Now, crop diversification basically is to diversify the crops, and for the major reasons. First reason is to improve the productivity of agricultural system. Second reason is to improve the farmer's income, and the third reason is for ecological balance, to preserve soil fertility, to replenish the nutrients, among others, right? So this is why crop diversification is done, and crop diversification may be temporal crop diversification or spatial crop diversification. And temporal crop diversification means planting different crops in a field over different seasons. For example, say in one Rabi season, if wheat is grown in a particular field in one season, say in the year 2023, and then in the next Rabi season in the year 2024, uh, instead of wheat, farmers can plant mustard in place of wheat, right? So this is the diversification of crop in various seasons. Similarly, this goes with Kharif season, Jais season, among others. But what is spatial distribution, spatial crop diversification? Here, different crops are grown at one particular field at the same time. That is, in one particular season only, in a crop, in a field, we can say there are various crops. For example, mustard can be grown combined with wheat. This is just an example. For example, corn can be grown with pulses. So, this is a spatial diversification of crop. What are the benefits of crop diversification? The first benefit is increased income for farmers. Now, as we all know that India, maximum or most of the farmers in India are small or marginal farmers who have less than 2 hectares of land with them, right? All of our land is mostly the land of India is the agricultural land is fragmented, right? So here, if farmers wants to increase their income, they have to shift to high value crops like pulses, like fruits and vegetables, which are demand in the market, right? So in this way, they will increase their income. Apart from traditional crops, like they should shift away from traditional crops like wheat, rice, and they should move towards horticulture and growing pulses, among others. And secondly, the benefit is that this will reduce the risk. Now, as we all know that because of climate change and because of various other factors, say because of climate change, there are certain pests which have become more invasive, right? And because of which, if a single type of crop is being grown over same seasons or over different seasons, now because of that, the risk of crop failure would be more high, right? But if in a single field we diversify one or more than one, if we diversify two or more than two crops, then in that case it will save the farmers from crop failure. It may save, right? So it will reduce the risk by crop diversification. Third thing is employment generation. Now in some states, majorly kharif and rabi crops are grown, and in that sense, when these crops are harvested for brief period of time, these agricultural laborers they fall out of employment, and these laborers they have to migrate to some other places. But if we grow mixed cropping, if we do intercropping or mixed cropping, so different crops will have different maturation time. So it will require these labors throughout the years for harvesting and other activities like weeding and other activities, right? So this will create throughout the year employment generation. Fourth thing is resource conservation. As we all know that planting various crops, say for example planting pulses. Pulses are leguminous crops, are they do nitrogen fixation. Their roots are fibrous roots, because of which they do nitrogen fixation. And similarly, there are certain other crops which sowing of these crops can fix the various amount of nutrients in the soils, right? And in this way, and on the other hand, monoculture or planting a single crop will suck out all the important nutrients from the soil and will make the field less productive over various cropping seasons, right? So for resource conservation, for the restoration of nutrients plus for the conservation of soil, we need to do crop diversification. Other thing is for nutritional security. India needs to move away from consuming just wheat, rice, and India needs to diversify its food basket also, for which India needs more production of more pulses, more oil seeds, more fruits and vegetables, right? In order to ensure nutritional security. And with other allied sectors like poultry, like fish, like dairy, these allied agricultural sectors would also help India to move towards nutritional security. Now, having said this, there are certain challenges in crop diversification. What are these challenges? The first thing is the issue of minimum support price. Now, see, in India, we know that minimum support price is announced for around 22 crops throughout the season, right? For 22 crops. But as we all know that government announces MSP, minimum support price, for these 22 crops, but the actual procurement happens or is majorly tilted towards the procurement of wheat and rice. So out of these 22 crops, the if the procurement in under MSP is heavily tilted in the favor of wheat and rice, farmers are only going to plant these crops. So the first thing is the procurement of other crops should also be, the government should also diversify procurement of other crops, right? So now because of this reason of assured procurement of wheat and rice, these are certain crops, these are some few crops which have dominated and which have, say, wiped out diversity in certain states, particularly Punjab, Haryana. And other thing is inadequate irrigation. Now we know that most of the Indian agricultural landscape is rain fed. We depend on rainfall for agriculture. So and also irrigation facilities, these have been significantly developed in certain states, but say there are states in central India, Madhya Pradesh, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, and Odisha, and certain other states where there are certain patches which are dry, and they particularly depend on, they are rain fed or depend on monsoon, and in these areas there are not adequate irrigational facilities for farmers. And in these areas, even if farmers they want to go for crop diversification, now because of this lack of irrigation facilities, they are not able to do it, right? So this is one of the challenge, that there are inadequate irrigation facilities. So the way forward would be to enhance irrigation facilities, right? The third thing is poor post harvest infrastructure. Now if we are moving towards, say, planting horticultural fruits, we are planting, say, flowers or fruits or vegetables, but as we all know that the shelf life is less, right? They are easily perishable, and because of which India, as we all know that we farmers, they don't have enough cold storage facility in their vicinity or near their agricultural markets or near their local mandis. Now because of this poor post harvest infrastructure, there is a fear among them, and because of which they only stick to traditional or conventional crops which are non perishable relatively, which have higher shelf life, right? Fourthly, there is inefficient agricultural markets. Now we know that, see, a farmer is bound to sell his products in his nearest APMC or in his nearest agricultural market. Now, but see, if a farmer is going to sell in his nearest APMC, now he will plant those crops for which there is a local demand. Now, as the APMCs in India are fragmented, they are not properly linked. Say there are 3 APMCs, and because they are not properly linked, if there is a demand in any certain other region of the state, and because these APMCs are not properly linked, this farmer will not diversify his crop even if there is a demand in nearby or in some distant areas, right? So because of this inefficient agricultural markets, this is an issue that farmer is restricted to only grow those crops which are popular or which are in demand in his sowing area, right? Fifth thing is contract farming restrictions. Now in India, we know that the laws related to contract farming, they are not uniform and they are restrictive, because of which the provision of contract farming, or we can say that contract farming is not a mainstream farming practice in India, right? Because of these restrictions in contract farming rules. Okay. And finally, because of land fragmentation, we all know that because of land fragmentation, land is because we have small land holdings, fragmented land holdings, and because of which, if in future we want to do contract farming, this won't be that easy, right? So what is the way forward? The way forward is to rationalize MSP. So MSP, which is presently in the favor of wheat and rice, should be crop neutral, right? In order to bring other crops also in its ambit, and government should give some other financial incentives to farmers to grow alternate crops other than wheat and rice. Also, government should encourage contract farming by bringing a model contract farming regulation. Also, the farmers or should shift towards innovative agricultural practices by using advanced technology. They should focus more on intercropping and mixed cropping, right? So this is the article. This is what the article is all about. Now with this, let's move on to our next article for the day. and which is inspired by this news article which appeared on page number 7 of the business line, the Hindu business line. Now, this news article says that recently the government of India has amended rules governing foreign direct investment in the space sector. Means this article says that now, if you are aware, in February 2024, government of India bought FDI reforms in space sector. That is space sector in India, which was earlier restrictive, and there was a monopoly of ISRO, and now government has bought FDI up to their government has brought up to 100% FDI in the space sector. Now, because of which, what has been possible, because of which the private startups in the space sector, they will flourish. More private startups in space sector can be opened in India, and for which they can fetch funding from, say, from foreign countries also, right? So this article says that the because of this FDI policy, India is expecting to get more space startups in future, right? Now, this news article is important for us for our GS paper 3 science and technology under the syllabus head achievements of Indians in science and technology, indigenization of technology and developing new technology. Also, this is important for us under the syllabus head awareness in the field of space. And from this particular theme, see, these are these following questions which UPSC asked in previous years. Now, with this, let's start that first of all, we will deal with this comprehensive issue, which is commercialization of Indian space sector. Now, we all know that right from 1960s, through the establishment of ISRO, through the establishment of Department of State in 1970s, so India has taken a giant leap in developing indigenous space technology. And with this, we all know that India has space technology for peaceful, for civilian users also. We have space technology in the field of communications. We have space satellites, right? And this technology in the field of launch vehicles. We have launch vehicles, and India's this progress can be seen in various missions which India has launched, say Chandrayaan, Mangalyaan, and we are going to launch Gaganyaan also, right? So, for civilian purposes, our space industry has bloomed, and also for defense purposes also we have various defense satellites. We have India has anti-satellite technology also, for which India did a test in 2019, right? Now, see, earlier these all activities were under the domain of ISRO. But now what government felt in lately, in the starting from the year 2020, government has liberalized this space sector, and government feels that, see, earlier ISRO used to manufacture all these space vehicles or these space ports, okay, related all these technologies which is related to space and space technology. And further, ISRO also did space research. Now government wants ISRO to full time invest its time in space research. And these all issues like developing technologies, these all issues have been this have been diversified, this has been decentralized to other agencies also, say non-governmental private entities. And now private sector can also participate along with ISRO in this process of developing space technology, right? So this is the essence, this is what is commercialization of Indian space sector. Now we will see what is the present status or what is the need for India to do this. Now, first of all, we should know that the global space market, as in the year 2023, the global space market is of the tune $450 billion, right? And it is expected to grow to $1 trillion in the year 2040. And now if we compare India's space market as compared to global space market, we see that presently, the size of space economy in India is $8 billion in the year 2023. This was the status. And India is expecting to grow to $40 to $50 billion by the year 2040. Now, compare the size of global space market and that of India's. Presently, India's presence is less than 2 or up to 2% of this space, right? So India need to bring in more fund for it. India need to bring in more innovation, more technology, more technological assistance, and India need to commercialize its space sector. For it, India has done certain reforms for commercialization of Indian space sector. What are these reforms? First of all, in the year 2023, Government of India launched Indian Space Policy 2023, and which basically dealt with private participation in Indian space sector, augmenting space capacity. Okay, that is augmenting the technology or which we have in the space sector domain. Also, for commercial presence of India, say for example, for space tourism, to offer these type of services to Indian population and to global population in future. So to maintain commercial, to to extend commercial presence of India in this sector, and for the growth of allied sector. As we all know that when space sector will grow, the allied sectors, for example, there are solar cells which are used in certain satellites. So solar industry will grow, the energy industry will grow, plus the communication industry. All these industries are bound to grow if space sector is growing, right? So this is for this growth of allied sectors as well as for manufacturing in India, right? For indigenous manufacturing. So this is what is the essence of Indian Space Policy 2023, right? Now lately, government in the year 2020 has had created these following institutions, one of which is INSpace. INSpace stands for Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center, right? So basically, this is a nodal agency which is under Department of Space, ISRO. Now, you can think of it that what is INSpace? INSpace is a kind of mediator between ISRO and private, say private companies. Now, say this is INSpace and this is ISRO and this is a non-governmental private entity, right? And if any non-governmental private entity wants to engage in a space-based activities, it has to take a clearance from INSpace, right? So INSpace will give clearance, or it would act as a single window clearance to give permission to NGPEs to enter into India's space sector, right? Or it will also provide technology to these private startups. It will provide data, technology, or we can say hand holding support to these private entities to engage in India's space sector, right? So one keyword is single window clearance. And there is another body which the government established in the year 2019, which is NSIL. NSIL stands for New Space India Limited. This is a PSU, which government, which is under, or we can say that this is a commercial arm of ISRO, that is for the promotion or for the marketing of India's space services, the facilities which India offers in the space segment. If we have to market it, say in say to private sectors, or say outside India, for which there is a commercial arm which will be NSIL, right? Apart from this, NSIL will also engage in building launch vehicles, in building, say, in providing launch services, and for transfer of technology also, right? So this is the role of NSIL. And presently, in February 2024, government bought FDI policy, for which government has opened up, there are certain segments for it. Say there is a 100% slab, there is a 74% slab, and there is a 49% slab. And these are, say, if I tell you, these are, this 100% slab is for development of, say, rocket subcomponents, and the 74% slab is for the development of, say, rocket rocket components. These are subcomponents, means small components for rockets. For example, they can be sensors, they can be cameras, they can be solar cells, right? And for, if any company wants to build its own, say, space launcher, for it there is a 49% route, right? So this is an FDA policy which government bought in recently. So these are the reforms which have been done by ISRO, and now or by the government, we can say. Now let's see that what are the benefits of these reforms. First of all, it will end ISRO's monopoly, but in a positive way, that it will free ISRO from all these job from all its monotonous job which ISRO did of this job of say creating say launch facilities uh, for building launch vehicles, and all these role has been shifted to NSIL, and private sector can also pitch in. And now ISRO will dedicate more of its time in research and development and for building space missions. So this would be the role of ISRO. And now it will, second thing is that it will attract investment. Now investment in the sense that, as we all know, that FDI will come to the space sectors from India as well as outside. Now if we see this news article, we say that in this year only, India has attracted up to $135 million of investment as FDI, right? So this will build up, this will attract investment in the Indian space sector, which is capital intensive, which requires capital, right? Huge capital. Now third thing is this will boost innovation. Now how it will boost innovation? For example, let me give you an example. By say private companies, there are various private startups. One example is Agnikul. So this is a startup which has built its India's first 3D printed launch vehicle. So this is a kind of innovation which the private sector is bringing and which will make these space technologies more cost effective. And so with this, India, as we saw that India can build its commercial presence in the global markets, and India can tap global markets by expanding its space facilities or space services to other countries. And also it will have a spillover effect over other sectors, which we already discussed. But there are certain challenges in commercialization of Indian space sectors. What are those? The first thing is India presently does not have a dedicated space policy. Now, why do we need a space policy? If India has a dedicated space policy, it will give a clarity of operations both to ISRO as well as to private entities, right? There will be clarity regarding their role, regarding regulations. The second thing is, see, in case of any dispute which arise between ISRO and private entities, so in that case, it will give a definite laws regarding dispute resolution. Other thing is, see, launching satellites or space-based services, they can be riskier. And if because of this, say, launch vehicles which are going to be launched by private startups, if in case there is any failure, and if in case there is any loss, say any loss to any human population in India, then who is going to be accountable in this case? So there is a space legislation which can fix accountability in case there are any mishaps or accidents, right? And also there may be issue regarding insurance. As we all know that building of these space services, it is capital intensive. Then in case of failures, these private startups should be covered, they should be given certain insurance. So for all these reasons, we need a dedicated space policy, right? Now other thing is space debris. Now we all know that already there is an issue of say malfunction satellite or the fragmented satellites or discarded satellites which are in various orbits of Earth, particularly in low Earth orbit. Now because of, as more private startups are going to enter in this arena, then there would be a kind of race and space race, because of which there are high chances, obviously there are chances that there would be more satellites, and that would result in more space debris, right? And we all know about Kessler's syndrome. And then security risk. What are the security risks? As we all know that because of this FDI, as FDI would come say from foreign sources also, and if private sector is also engaging in a space sector, space, as we all know that space sector is a critical infrastructure sector, and certain informations are confidential. Now because of all involvement of all these stakeholders, there may be chance of data breach, there may be chance of say cyber attacks. So these are the security risk implied with presence of various stakeholders. And then there may be IPR issues, that are intellectual property rights issues. If there is a technology which is jointly developed by private and ISRO, and if say the major contribution is from private institutions, so what are the rules regarding the IPR, regarding the ownership of IPR rights, intellectual property rights? So there may be issues, certain disputes which may arise in lack of a dedicated space policy. And then there are certain technologies, space technologies, which can be of dual use. That is, we can use space technology for civilian as well as defense purposes. If more private startups are going to come in this scene, then there are high chances that they may develop dual use technologies which may risk India's internal security, right? So these are certain aspects regarding to this dimension, regarding to this topic, which was commercialization of Indian space sector. Now, what is the way forward? The way forward is to bring a dedicated space policy, right? So now let's move on to our next topic, which appeared on the explained section of Indian Express, and this is about the Nepal's political turmoil. Now we all know that. Now let me give you a brief idea. So basically, the present Prime Minister of Nepal, who is Pushp Kamal Dahal, or popularly known as Prachand, right? Now you should know that earlier this Prime Minister of Nepal has a good shares goodwill with India, but recently he has given his alliance to a Communist Party of Nepal, and this Communist Party of Nepal, this is pro China. So uh, there is an issue in India that now this Prime Minister of Nepal, who has extended his support to a party which is pro China, and because of which there is concern for India regarding that the stand of Nepal may be more leaning towards China because of this, right? So in this context, we will be seeing India-China relations in brief. Now this topic is important for us for our GS paper to international relations. Under the syllabus set India and its neighborhood relations, and these are the questions which were asked by UPSC. Now if we see, now these are the maps. We see the location of Nepal. Nepal is a small Himalayan landlocked country which is located between two Asian giants, China and India, right? And if we talk about let's see the geographical issue aspects. See, Nepal shares more than 80 more than 1850 kilometers of land borders with India. And what are the states which share boundaries with Nepal's Indian states? These states are Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, West Bengal, and Sikkim. So Nepal shares its borders with 5 Indian states, and it's a Himalayan state. And now, if we talk about India-Nepal relations, we have long civilizational ties, right from even before the advent of Buddhism in Nepal. So both of the countries are Himalayan states, right? And the majority of the religion is say Hinduism, and other religions here are minority religions are Buddhism, Islam, among others. So we have a deep civilizational ties and strong people to people link and contacts, right? And the official relationships between India and Nepal were existed by signing a treaty of peace and friendship between these countries in the year 1950. So what are the major tenets of this treaty? Because of this treaty, it enabled free cross-border movement between the people from both sides. That is, the people from India and Nepal can freely move across borders without the need of any passport or any visa, right? And because of this treaty, the people from both sides of the countries can live, work, even settle. And the people of Nepali origin, they have equal opportunities in India, equal earning opportunities at par with Indian people, right? And both of these countries are a good source of remittances to each other. And if we see, more than 80 lakh Nepalese people, they are living in India, they are working in India. And in army also, there is a regiment, Gurkhas are employed in Indian army, and these are the people of Nepalese origin. So this was manifested from the treaty of peace and friendship in the 1950. If we talk about economic ties, India is the largest trading partner of Nepal. And if we see the status of bilateral trade between these countries, in the financial year 2022-23, the bilateral trade between these countries were over $8 billion. And India is 30% of FDI, foreign direct investment in Nepal. It goes from India. And if we talk about humanitarian aid and assistance, time and again, there are various issues in Nepal. For example, there are various earthquakes, frequent occurrence of earthquakes in Nepal. And right in the COVID-19 pandemic, India offered more than $7 million aid and assistance to Nepal, also food assistance and vaccines and other assistance we have offered. So this is because of our people-centric policy which India has adopted towards Nepal, right? And if we talk about our cooperation in the terms of infrastructure, India has built various road transportation projects and integrated checkposts on the borders for safety in the Indian Nepalese borders. Also, the South Asia's largest or the first cross border petroleum pipeline. India has built this cross border petroleum pipeline which joins Motihari in Bihar to Amlechganj in Nepal. And even this pipeline is going to be extended further, and India is planning a separate pipeline again, right? And these are the water corporations, water sharing treaties or water corporations which we have with Nepal for the sharing of Koshi water river, Gandak water river, Mahakali river, such that there is a fair use of water from both sides. And then India, as we know that Nepal is landlocked and Nepal relies on India for its trade. And so there is a latest development that India is building Sagar Matha, Sagar waterway in via in the Kosi river to via the Kosi river to give Nepal access Bay of Bengal and finally to Indian Ocean. So this is to increase the sea route connectivity of Nepal. And if we talk about presence of India and Nepal in various multilateral organizations, we know their presence in BBIN, Bhutan, Bangladesh, India, Nepal, in BIMSTEC, in SARC. So these are the organizations in which these two countries are parties. And in defense also, we know, apart from Gurkha regiment, we also know that there is a joint military exercise between these two countries, which is termed as Surya Kiran. But there are certain challenges in the recent time. What are these challenges? The first thing is mainly these challenges between India and Nepal or the relationship between these countries are souring. This is because of trust deficit. Why? First of all, India has promised for the development of various infrastructure projects in Nepal. Say example, hydro projects. Now see, Nepal has enormous hydropower potential of more than 80,000 megawatts. This is 80,000 megawatts, right? But now, in spite of having it, Nepal relies on energy which is exported by India to Nepal. So India is promising to build these hydropower projects or some other projects also, but there is a time delay. There is an enormous time delay, right? And also because of Madheshi crisis, if you remember, in the year 2015, there was a 5-month long blockade across the Nepal-India border. And this was when Nepal was framing its own constitution. And Madheshi people who share their ethnicity, who live in, say, eastern and central Nepal, but they have common ethnicity with India as well as Nepal. And these people felt that due representation to them would not be given in Nepalese parliament. And for this, there was a blockade, a 5-month long blockade, and which caused various hardships for Nepal. And for this, Nepal thinks that this was what India has planned, and then the relationships started deteriorating more. And also, we have border issues. What are the border issues? First of all, there is a border dispute between India and Nepal, and there is a tri-junction border dispute in the tri-junction, which is Limpia Dhura, Kala Pani, and Lipulek Pass. This is the area which is claimed by both India and Nepal, In these all places are presently, India claims it is in the state of Uttarakhand, but Nepal. So there are an overlapping claim over this tri-junction between India and Nepal, right? So this is the border dispute. Apart from it, as we all know that the borders are porous, so because of which there is high chance that terrorists, like say for example LET, terrorists of this group, or mostly we have seen that cross-border trafficking of drugs, of counterfeit currency, even human trafficking is ongoing via this route, right? And also the major thing is China's presence in Nepal. Now Nepal is heavily inclined, or it is leaning in favor of China, as we can see by signing, as Nepal signed Belt and Road Initiative with China, and also China has surpassed India to become the largest route of foreign direct investment in Nepal. And China is planning various infrastructural projects in Nepal apart from airport expansion. So this is one just example. So what is the way forward in this regard? The way forward is India should, via dialogue, India should hold various open dialogue or diplomatic dialogues with Nepal to solve its border dispute, for its timely border dispute resolution. And there should be integrated border management in order to ensure, in order to minimize, or in order to prevent any border crimes. And India should continue giving its developmental aid to Nepal, and India's diplomacy should be more people centric, right? So in India should follow a people centric policy, and with, and India should engage in dialogue even further, right? So this is what this article is. Now the next article is article appeared on the page number 11 of Indian Express. This is regarding the Myanmar conflict is a regional problem, and this is also important for our GS paper 2, international relations, India and its neighborhood. Now if we this is the location of Myanmar. Now if you remember the timeline, Myanmar, which is a Southeast Asian country, now it is facing one of its most precarious humanitarian crisis. Now if we see the timeline of the events, the timeline of the events was that in February 2021 there was a military coup by a by its military, and which threw out the democratically elected government of Myanmar, citing that the elections which happened in the year 2022, there was a military coup, and this janta, which is pronounced as hanta, so it said that these elections are invalid, or there are certain corruptions in these elections, so there was a military coup. Now since February 2021, there is a military coup in Myanmar, and because of which there is a widespread protest in the country, in Myanmar. Now there is a widespread protest by the people of all sectors of civil society. That is, there is a protest by doctors, say journalists, say common people. They have come out in a protest which has now become violent. And even this can be seen from the fact that there are more than 600 armed resistance forces which have come up in Myanmar, and these armed resistance forces, they are fighting against the military of Nepal, or this hanta of Nepal. They are fighting against it. Now what are the reasons that why are they protesting? The first thing is for the restoration of democracy in Myanmar. Second thing is for the release of their detained leaders. Now, what are the issues here? What are the issues which the writer says? The writer says that, see, there are severe humanitarian crisis which is happening in Myanmar, and because of which there is mass killing of people there. There is a violation of their human rights. People are falling into the trap of poverty, and because of which there is a massive scale displacement. And this displacement is both internal as well as external. If we talk about external displacement, there are people from Myanmar which are moving to or other nearby countries. There are people, we are the refugees. If we talk about India, via the northeastern states, say Manipur, say Mizoram, they are entering India, and in the same way they are also migrating from Myanmar to other countries like Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, and other countries, Bangladesh. So the author says that, see, this issue is not now only the problem of Myanmar. Now this has become a global issue, or this has become a regional issue. which is impacting the interest of this population, this huge population of Southeast Asia, apart from India also. So now this is not just a issue which is threatening Myanmar, but it is also threatening the stability, the regional stability of this region. So, what is the way forward? The way forward is that the major global organizations here, if we see that Myanmar is the part of ASEAN, but we have seen that ASEAN has not been successful in mitigating this issue or in holding engagement in engaging the Myanmar's military with it for some conclusive ties. This has not been the case. So the other global forums, say United Nations and other big parties, say USA, United Kingdom, or even China, even India, they should recalibrate their Myanmar policy such with an holistic approach, such that there is a stability in Myanmar, as well as this is also important in order to maintain regional stability of the region. Now, with this, let's move on to our prelims questions for the day. The first question is inspired by this news article which appeared on page number 7 of the Hindu Business Line. Now, this news article is regarding it is that the researchers from Indian Institute of Technology Madras have developed a method for treating bauxite residue using phosphoric acid to extract valuable components from it. We will see this. Now, before it, let's talk about what is bauxite. Now, if you know that bauxite is a sedimentary rock, so basically bauxite is a metallic ore. This is an ore of aluminium. The major mineral which is extracted out of this ore is aluminium, right? Apart from aluminium, it is also a major source of rare metal gallium, right? And now this bauxite, if we see this distribution of bauxite in India, it is majorly found in this central belt and coastal areas, and the major Indian states or the major deposits of bauxite are found in Odisha, Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat, Jharkhand, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, and Chhattisgarh. And if we talk about its production, Odisha Odisha is the leading producer of bauxite in India. And if we talk about India's total production, India accounts for 6% of global production of bauxite, and the largest producers of bauxite include Australia, Republic of Guinea, China, and Brazil. Right? So these are some of the facts. And see in this map, there are major regions in Odisha also, and there are major mines throughout these states also, which we saw here. And see the important locations of these mines, bauxite mines, right? But see what happens when this bauxite, this has been mined, when this aluminium, this has been extracted from this bauxite ore. Now see, residue is left. Now scientists say that this residue, this is toxic as it contains various heavy metals. So generally this residue is either it is discarded, or some residue 2 to 3% is also used by cement industries. But generally this residue is discarded, and which has caused a huge environmental concern because of presence of its heavy metals, which is toxic to the soil and also to environment. Now what are these toxic heavy metals which are present in this bauxite ore residue? These are arsenic, lead, cadmium, chromium, vanadium, and mercury. And now what did the researchers from Indian Institute of Technology Madras? They treated this residue with phosphoric acid. And by treating this residue with phosphoric acid, they found out certain metallic phosphates. When they treated this residue, there was the creation of certain metallic phosphates, and these metallic phosphates it was a mix of aluminium, iron, and silicon phosphates. And now see what is the benefit of these metallic phosphates? These metallic phosphates, when they observed, they saw that they have certain properties. They have certain dielectric properties, and they have certain optoelectronic properties. And because of these properties, what will happen? That because of dielectric properties, these metallic phosphates, they can be turned into energy conservation systems. They can be used as, say, they can be used as semiconductors. They can be used as insulators. This dielectric, because of this dielectric property, these metallic phosphates can be used as semiconductors, insulators, and with the help of this, we can build capacitors. This can be used in solar cells. So we can see that they can be used in energy harvesting. Second thing, because they have optoelectronic properties, and because of which they can be used to develop LEDs. They can be also used in various display systems. So this is the article, this is what the article says. Now because we are running out of time, so you can solve this question and you can solve this in the comment box, right? And now let's move on to our next topic, which is regarding IceCube. IceCube, the big chill neutrino spotter. Now for it, you should know that what is neutrino. See, what is neutrino? Neutrino is a fundamental particle in physics. And we know fundamental particles which cannot be further subdivided. These are fundamental particles, right? So neutron is a kind of fundamental particles which have two important properties. First of all, it has a negligible mass. So remember that it has a non-zero mass. It is not entirely massless, but it has negligible mass. Other thing is, it does not have any charge, right? And see, one important thing is that this neutrino, this is known as ghost particle. Why ghost particle? Ghost particle means this particle does not interact with any other particles, and that's why it remains undetected. Now what do we mean by interaction? Interaction, we mean that if a particle interacts with any other particle, say if an electrons, it interacts with any proton, there will be a force of attraction between them. Say if there are two electrons, there will be a force of repulsion between them. So in case of any interaction, there is an exchange of force. Because of these force carriers, there is exchange of energy. There is exchange of momentum, right? So this is what we mean by interaction. But these neutrinos, they do not interact with any other particle, and as a result, what happens? As a result, we are not able to detect neutrinos. In any given second, there are thousands or millions of neutrinos which are hitting our body, but we are not able to detect them. And what are the sources of these neutrinos? The major source of neutrinos are cosmic events, say supernova explosion or other cosmic events, and they can also be generated in nuclear reactions, in nuclear fusion also, and in nuclear fission also. In nuclear fission, particularly in beta decay of radioactive elements, they are produced. So these are the basic facts about neutrino. But see, we have world's biggest neutrino telescope or world's biggest neutrino observatory is located in Antarctica. So in the south pole of the world, in Antarctica, there is world's largest neutrino observatory. Now this is the location. Now this observatory is intended to detect neutrinos. How it is going to detect it? Now, as I already told you that neutrinos, I said that they do not interact with matter. But if we see it more precisely, we say that they have minimal interaction with matter. Minimum interaction with matter. So neutrinos have minimal interaction with matter. With this, we say that they do not interact with solid particles as such. But see, if this is ice, this is frozen ice, and this is an atom of ice, or we can say in water molecule, this is one atom. And see, if this neutrino interacts, to our surprise, this neutrino interacts with this ice atom, and in this process there is a secondary particle. There is a secondary particle which is created, and then when the secondary particle is created, in this process there is a certain kind of radiation which is released, and this radiation is blue in color. This radiation is known as Cherenkov radiation. Now scientists, this is an observatory which is built underground, right? This is the surface of the ground, and see, this is around 2.5 kilometer underground. Now in this observatory, these neutrinos will cross this ice barrier, and here they will interact with ice atoms, and they will produce certain radiations which are known as Cherenkov radiations. And then with these sensors, scientists are going to detect these Cherenkov radiations, and by measuring the energy and direction, and by measuring these Cherenkov radiations, they will be able to learn about the energy and direction of neutrinos that caused it, right? Now, why do we need this? Why do we want to study neutrinos? That is why, because we want to improve our understanding of fundamental particles of, say, standard model of atom, standard model of particle physics. For example, or we can say that we want to know how our cosmos or how our universe originated, for which this is the best tool, right? Now solve this question in the comment section. Now our next article is, where names indicate the order of birth. There are certain tribes, which is Lishu and Shingpo communities in Arunachal Pradesh and Assam, which name their children according to the order they are born in the family, right? So this would be a fun fact for you. But in this news article, what we can see, we can know just a few facts about two tribes, which are Lishu tribe and Shingpo tribe. So let's see in brief that what are these tribes. Lishu tribe is a minority tribe which is found in Arunachal Pradesh in India. They are surrounded by Namdapa National Park. This is a fact, see its location. And this is one of the minority tribe of Arunachal Pradesh, but this is not a particularly vulnerable tribe. Okay? This is not a PVTG. Particularly vulnerable tribal group. But this is a minority tribe, and these are the facts that they live in. Basically, remember one fact, that they live in Arunachal Pradesh, and this is a minority tribe, right? And they are of Yunnan, their origin, they are of Unani region origin, or they have a Tibetan origin, right? And there are other tribes which are Singpos tribe, and this Singpos tribe, they are also present in the northeast India. Particularly, they are present in the state of Assam and in the state of Arunachal Pradesh, right? And they live in the Patkai mountain range. Now see the location of this mountain range, right? And they celebrate an annual festival which is known as Shapang Yong Manaupoi, right? So this is the annual festival in which they showcase their rich and varied cultures, exotic flora and fauna of Arunachal Pradesh, right? So this is a key fact here. Now this is an MCQ. This is a practice MCQ for you. Solve this in the comment section, and answers for all these MCQs are provided in the PDF attached, right? So no need to worry about the answers. And now final topic for our today's discussion is about arboriculture. Now this is article appeared in Business Lines which talked about arboriculture. Now if I dissect this term, arbori means tree, culture means caring. Now this term means caring of trees. If we talk about trees strictly, it says woody trees. So this means arboriculture is a practice in which woody trees or wooden trees, they are preserved, they are maintained, they are planted in particularly in urban areas, right? So this is a practice of planting, preserving and maintaining woody trees or woody group of trees. Either it can be a single tree also, or it can be a group of trees, particularly in urban areas. Now why do we need this? The significance is that in urban areas, we know that obviously for environmental preservation, we know that trees, they sequester carbon for carbon sequestration. Also in urban areas, we know that there is an issue of urban heat island. So these trees, they will mitigate this issue. Also for preserving habitats of insect, bird, squirrels or other, say, of fauna, and it will also add to the aesthetics of urban areas, right? But what are the challenges? The challenges is this comprises of planting the right set of trees which is suitable for a particular urban habitat. We should not plant, say for example, this is Senna sebastilis. This is an invasive species. Particularly, this is an ornamentation plant which was planted in India. This is a native of, say, America, and this was planted in India as an ornamentational tree. But now this is an invasive species, particularly in southern India, say in Nilgiri region. We can say in Tamil Nadu and other southern Indian states, this has become an invasive species. Even this tree can be, some of these trees can be seen in Delhi area also. So we should plant the right type of trees, right? And more focus. And apart from new plantation, the trees which are already present, they should also be preserved. They should also be maintained. Now, the question says which of the following best describes the term arboriculture. This you can answer this in the comment section. So now this brings an end to today's discussion. If you have any doubts, you can ask us in the comment section. Okay, thank you.